Today we are going to talk about basic website optimization. Optimizing a website is usually a very simple process because the focus is normally just limited to the images on the site. And here we have a site that the company has been working on just recently. And one of the best optimization tools that I like to use is a website called websiteoptimization.com. If you come to this website, you can provide a URL of choice and then just hit the go button and it will think for a little while and then it will give you this report. And the report is quite detailed, and essentially it focuses on showing you how long it takes for a page to load and why. And the answer behind the question why is usually related to images, scripts, multimedia, and CSS, with images being the biggest culprit, the most common cause for a website to load slowly. And of course, here we also get a report showing how long it took, and on a T1 connection it would take 30 seconds for my site to load. And not everybody is on T1, but we can assume that most people, 90% plus, are on ISDN, because 56K modems are a thing of the past. And ISDN would show, 90 seconds for the site, which is way too long. It shouldn't take more than 5 seconds or less for your page to load. Next, this report shows you the objects found on the page, and it starts with the largest sized objects and then progressively gets smaller and smaller. So on the objects report, the stuff up at the top is your most likely culprits for a slow loading page. For example, let's see. Within the first 10 items, here's one at 59K, and this is my background image. So obviously, that can be optimized. And later in this video, I'm going to show you how to optimize your images by compressing them and also choosing appropriate image formats. For example, here's an image, 48K, and it's a GIF. That's probably a really big image that could be a quarter of that size or less if it was switched over to JPEG instead. Let's scroll down to the next part of the report. At the very end of the report, it gives us an analysis in verbal form. Anything in red is something which should have your attention or the attention of your webmaster. And one thing that's nice about this part of the report, this text summary, is that it's full of links. And so it's not only telling you about a problem, it's giving you some resources so that you can learn how to fix it, such as learn how to suture your JavaScript files together, learn how to optimize your JavaScript. So that gives a quick overview on the report tool that I like to use. But now I'm going to take a closer look at the actual construction of the site, because there's things that a report might miss that you're only going to find if you actually understand web design and know what you're doing. One of the mistakes that I found when I was looking at the site was these thumbnails here. If a thumbnail of this size is saved in JPEG format, it should be about maybe 5 or 6 kilobytes. Let's see what the actual size is. We'll just save this, and when we're done saving this to my folder, I can see that this image is 39 kilobytes. And then, of course, if I open this up, I see the hidden truth of what's going on here. And that is that this is actually not a thumbnail image. This is a full-sized image that was just scaled down so that it would look like a thumbnail. The problem with that is that as far as the file goes, it's still the same size. So let's see what happens if we can save this by first resizing it. We will resize it so that the width is 100 pixels. And when I go to my Save As dialog in my graphic editing program, I am given an additional option of configuring the compression factor, since I'm saving this as a JPEG image. The way that this works is very predictable. The higher compression you use, the more image quality is lost, but the smaller the file will be. So over here, I get a crappy image, very small file. Over here on the other side of the spectrum, with almost no compression or with lossless, I get a large file, but the quality is good. With thumbnails, it's possible to use very high compression and still have good results. So I'm going to put the compression factor at 40, and then we'll take a look and see how that turns out. I'm also going to update the file name to thumbnail 40. Just to get a good comparison, I'm also going to save this at a different compression, something a little bit lower. We'll do 20. So the original file is 39 kilobytes at 49% compression and resize, so it's now a true thumbnail. I'm down to 3 kilobytes. That's a savings of more than 90%. And that means that if somebody visits my web page, as far as that one image goes, it's loading 90% faster. At 20% compression, it's at 4 kilobytes. Only 1 kilobyte difference, so hardly any difference at all between those two file sizes. And now let's pull these into the browser to get a quick demonstration of what quality we're looking at. So that's looking at 40% compression. We can see a little bit of degradation in the image quality. That shows up as fuzziness and halos and speckles Take a quick look at 20%. And at 20% we still have a little bit of that, but it's hardly noticeable at all. Then of course here's our original, which was probably saved in lossless, and comes in at a whopping 39 kilobytes. Way too big. When you are looking at a website and checking the work of your design team, be sure to even look at small things, such as this Facebook logo. Let's download that and see what size it is. That comes in at 14 kilobytes. And I know from experience that if I optimize that at 30% compression, it looks exactly the same, but the size will go down to 2 kilobytes. At this time, I'd like to briefly talk about the different image file formats which are available. It's possible to save images as PNG, JPG, and GIF. Those are the three formats that are most widely used. They've been in use for a number of years, and they each offer unique benefits and detriments. PNG is a lossless format, so there is no compression factor when you save that, and PNG is a very good format for taking screenshots, editing images, and then saving them as just a first draft. And then later on you can save them as a JPEG or as a GIF, but you should hold on to your original .png format files, because those are always going to be in perfect quality. I suppose a good analogy for this might be the way that some offices will make photocopies of forms that need to be filled out. And if somebody wants additional forms, they don't just make a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. They talk to the boss and they get the original form, and they make a photocopy of that, and then they put the original back into a desk somewhere to keep it perfect. And that way quality does not degrade progressively. You always have that original and high quality available. JPEG, as has been demonstrated, is a good format for compression, and it is also a good format for high color depth images. And what I mean by that is, if there's an image that has a gradient or a high color count in it, for example, if you take a picture of a person smiling and they're in front of some flowers, that might have a color depth that is thousands of colors in one picture. And of course, if the color depth goes down, then the quality of the picture goes down. So use JPEG for high color depth and use GIF for low color depth, because GIF is limited to showing 256 colors in one image, and that makes it unsuitable for photographic quality images. However, GIF format is very good for doing something like a gradient or background on a website, perhaps an icon. And GIFs have the additional benefit, this is just only for GIF format, you can use transparency in the image. And what that would allow you to do is, for example, you could make an icon that is a globe. It's a circle, and the background of the icon is invisible. So regardless of if you put this icon on a website which has a black background or a white background, the icon still looks perfect. It matches the background because that's coming through, because the background of the GIF was actually transparent. If you happen to be outsourcing your work outside of the USA or outside of Europe, then there's a high probability that whoever is on your web design team might not understand some of the basics about optimizing images. So you'll want to keep your eye on that when you review their work. If you're looking at your report and you see other warnings, such as recommending that you suture your JavaScript files together, or that you optimize them with compression, just pass that detail on to your webmaster, and they'll know what to do to take care of that. As long as we're on the topic of optimization, I will close the video by showing how to adjust the color depth of an image. I'm using PaintShop Pro. The process is pretty much the same for any other image program. You can typically find a toolbar menu option for adjusting the image, and then within that option you'll see a menu that you can expand for increasing or decreasing your color depth. And the three most common color depths which you will find is 8-bit, which is 256 colors, and then followed by two 24-bit options, which will give you 32,000 colors or 64,000 colors. And as you can imagine, this affects quality as well as size quite dramatically. And for the image that I have displaying right now, something like that is not going to need 64K. It can do just fine on 32K. And if you have a good quality program, you'll be able to preview what it's going to look at when you adjust the color depth. You will be given reduction methods as well, either nearest color or error diffusion. If you use error diffusion, then you're going to get more what people call artifacts, which would be little halos appearing around objects and speckles in your background. So if you use nearest color, you're going to get the best results, and that's what I recommend. So I apply that, and before and after is almost exactly the same. You can't tell the difference. I'm going to save this as lossless and then see how much space it ends up actually using. Notice that there's also an option here for running an optimizer, and that's essentially a wizard. That's something I recommend exploring as well for your own graphics program. So we'll save this file, and let's see what we had. Previously we were at 39 kilobits. It looks like that was actually a bad idea. That went up to 123. So that at the very least shows you what happens if you save in a lossless format on JPEG. It's incredibly high quality and high space. Also, take note that there's a big difference between standard and progressive encoding. If you use progressive compression, then every single time that you save an image, the quality is going to degrade farther and farther. But if you save an image in standard and then go back to that same image, make some changes, save it again, it actually stays the same. It's not farther degrading just because you opened it and saved it again. I just took a closer look at the difference between standard and progressive. You can actually see a demonstration right here, especially if you're watching the video in HD format. It affects how the image loads on a browser.
What do you mean?